What's good people, and welcome to the Silly, Nerdy, Sometimes Wordy podcast. And I'm your host, BK. This is episode 11, spoiler heavy film review of DC's film The Flash. Spoiler heavy. And like I just said, in this week's episode, we're doing strictly a spoiler review of the film The Flash that's now in theaters. If you haven't seen it yet, stop, go check it out, come back, and give us a listen. All right. How's everybody doing out there? Hope everybody's doing well. I want to give a big shout out to my wife and family, just sending them some good, positive vibes, positive energy out there to all of them. So just sending out some love to the fam. All right. Let's get into it. We are talking about DC's film, The Flash. And before I get to the film, I just want to address this right off the top. I am focusing strictly on the film itself and the performances. I am aware of all of the off-screen alleged things that Ezra Miller has done, but I am not here to talk about that today. I'm just talking strictly about the film itself and the performances and all the great work that was done with the actors and the people behind the scenes. Okay, so the film, pretty good. I enjoyed the film. I liked it for what it was. I had fun with it. I thought this was one of the better DC films, recent DC films that they have had. I think it's right up there, probably in the top, 5 or 6 or so films that were recently made. It was a nice way to close out the DCEU from Zack Snyder's universe. And I'm going to be talking about this film in no particular order. As I said, it's spoiler heavy, so I'm not going in any chronological order. I'm just going to go around and kind of talk about what I want to talk about, things I want to hit on. First, I want to get to is the pacing of the film, the rhythm of the film. I felt that at times it was a bit slow, but it did begin to pick up. And so, yeah, I definitely thought there was a little bit slow at times. And then, of course, I want to talk about the running pose and the motion in terms of the way it was running the Flash, the character. It's very distinctly different from the CW's Flash. Very noticeable, especially when he slows up. So it's interesting. Which it's different, and it should be. And then, of course, the lead of the film, Ezra Miller, I think he did a great job, especially playing the two different versions of himself, the younger version and the older version. The younger version being 18 and the older version more like 30 or so. So he did really well with that, especially with the nuances in playing the role, especially when it was just the two of him by himself. So I enjoyed it. He did a great job with that. And the family scenes, I thought it was good, that part as well. And speaking of the family scenes, the story of this film, I thought it was really good because at the end of the day, you understand the reason Barry did what he did, because he wanted to be in a timeline where his mom was alive, where his mom was not dead and his father wasn't in jail, or at least they have one parent. So there is a reason for all of the stuff that he did. And so that is a through line of the film that I think served the film very well. Another thing that I enjoyed was the different the multiverse aspect of it. It was interesting. I thought it was a good move, particularly having the multiple Batman versions. Of course, the other lead of the film, a lot of people came to see, is the Michael Keaton Batman from the 1990s film. It was a good way to introduce him the way he came into it and eventually where he ended up being. I thought it was a pretty good in terms of his seeing him, seeing the Batcave, the 90s Batcave, the Batmobile from that time, and the plane as well. That was pretty cool. And then of course having Ben Affleck one more time at the beginning, that was pretty good as well, especially the conversation at the beginning. I thought that was good stuff there. And then there was one more Batman, and that was at the very end of the film where they're going to the courthouse, and Bruce Wayne pulls up and everybody comes, and obviously he's expecting to see the Michael Keaton Batman or the Ben Affleck Batman, but it actually ends up being George Clooney, which he hasn't played that character since the two Batman films back in the late 90s with the Batman and the Batman Returns. So that was an interesting twist. Didn't expect to see him. So that was that was pretty cool to see. So the different Batmans as well. And as well as seeing Gal Gadot making a cameo at the beginning of the film. Thought that was good as well. And let's talk about a few things that was interesting and I didn't like. The score of the film, the music of the overall film. I didn't really like it too much. Didn't hit good for me. It wasn't memorable. Not like other films. The only thing about the music I would say is the score or the theme for the Michael Keaton Batman theme. I thought that was really good. I enjoyed that. And then also at the beginning of the film, I thought it was interesting in terms of when he was trying to save all the babies and the dogs, the CGI and the way it was done. It looked a bit silly to me, but I also understood it, especially when he's trying to, eat some food before he can save the baby because he's got to get his energy, blood sugar and all of that. So that was an interesting way of doing things. Another thing was the jokes. Most of the jokes were good for me, with the exception at the beginning with the one in the coffee shop. I thought that ran a little long, but I understood it because he did all of that saving those people while that order was being taken place. And another thing I want to hit on is the let's go to the flashback of Man of Steel, showing that from his perspective, from Flash's perspective, going back and showing like, yes, he was there when Zod was doing what he was doing, destroying Metropolis. So I thought that was pretty cool to show the events from that movie from his perspective. And as you saw, it was initially when he first got his powers, he was only able to save one person, but it was just cool to see that film from that perspective. And then another thing, obviously Supergirl was in this film. Of course, when they were trying to find the Kryptonian, they were trying to get Superman, and they ended up with Supergirl. But I thought it was an interesting way to bring her in. I thought the actress did a great job. I just wish we could have got a little bit more from her, but I understood because they focused mainly on the Flash as well as the Batman, the Michael Keaton Batman. So, but from the time that she was on screen and all she did, I enjoyed what she did, and looking forward to what she will be doing moving forward in the new James Gunn universe that he'll be taking over. And then getting to the third act of the film towards the end with the whole multiverse kind of different colliding. The different cameos in terms of all the different Supermen showing up, as well as the original Supergirl actress. I thought that was pretty cool to have her in there, Helen Slater from the 1984 Supergirl film. But I also thought it was a missed opportunity to have the most recent Supergirl, Melissa Benoist, that played that role for 6 seasons on the CW's Supergirl that was initially on CBS, then went on to the CW. She was a very popular character. It would have been cool to see her pop in there as well. And then, like I said, the different Superman to show. Of course, Henry Cavill was in there, and also there was a cameo of Nicolas Cage. So that was cool to see. Because back in 2015, there was a documentary. It was called Superman Lives: What Happened, because the film never got made, and Nicolas Cage was going to be Superman, but obviously it didn't happen. But he was a cameo in this film, so I thought that was pretty cool to see. And of course, you saw the original Christopher Reeves, whether that was deep fake, CGI, the volume, some combination. That was pretty cool. So yeah, that whole scene was very interesting in the way they did it, and it was kind of, you saw the setup in terms of who the villain was, in terms of just an older version of Barry, which initially I thought that was the Reverse Flash, but I don't believe that was the case. So that whole scene, it was just kind of going over and over, and Supergirl kept dying and dying. So because he was getting back to the main theme of the film was he was trying to get back in a universe where his mom is alive. So that was an interesting scene. The CGI was, I think, was good. It could have been better, but I've heard people have different varying opinions on it, one way or the other. But the VFX folks, I think they did the best they could, because this film has gone through multiple directors, multiple delays and changes and executive changes, as well as all the other things that have happened. So, and this film was initially supposed to be out 6-7 years ago. So but I enjoyed the film. It was like I said, one of the better DC films for sure. A few more things I could talk about is there was one post-credit scene after the George Clooney cameo. At the very end, there's a cameo with Aquaman with Jason Momoa's character, Arthur Curry. And to me, that post-credit scene, it was okay. It didn't really do anything. It didn't really move the needle. Of course, it can't really move the needle because this is one of the last film. It's not going to be a part of James Gunn's, Peter Safran's universe. So the only instance is that they left the door open if they want to use Jason Momoa as Aquaman, depending on how good the Aquaman sequel does, which is coming out later this year in December, I believe, of 2023. So, because as it was said in the spoiler in the post-credit scene, like he's the Aquaman is the same in every version. So they have an opportunity, if they want to keep Jason Momoa moving forward, they could still use him, or it could just be one of those standalone Elseworlds films projects. So, but like I said, it was a funny, good post-credit scene, but for understandable reasons, it's not going to move anything forward. It didn't introduce anybody new, because they're going into this new era, this new DCU that's being created now. So But, post credit scene nonetheless. So I'm excited to see what happens in this new DCU. So that is, believe, all I have to say about this film. Now let's get to the takeaways. My takeaway is from this podcast is I enjoyed the film. I thought it was good, one of the better DC films. Definitely out there. It's not doing well financially as it should be, as well as the budget that they spent on this. But we'll see how it goes in the coming weeks. So also that there's just a lot of good movies coming out this summer. So it's been pretty good so far, and we got more coming later this summer, as well as later this year, into September and way into December. So that is all I have to say for this podcast. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Did something a little different, just focusing on going over my thoughts on a film, a little longer, but still short. Hope you enjoyed it. And come back and see us. We're everywhere. Yeah. All right. Until next time, we'll talk soon.